series if un is a sequence and equal to 1 to infinity. What is the meaning? u1 comma u2 u3 and so on, un and so on is a sequence, then u1 plus u2 plus u3 and so on plus un plus and so on is called series. Is called series corresponding to the sequence. And is denoted by summation un and ranging from 1 to infinity. Sequence also 1 to infinity. Here we have 1 to infinity, u1 comma u2 comma u3 and so on. But if you take the corresponding sum u1 plus u2 plus u3 and so on, this is what is called the series corresponding to this sequence. So corresponding to every sequence, there will be a series. Series is denoted by summation un. It is understood if you write like this, it is 1 to infinity. Okay. So for example, corresponding to the sequence, corresponding to the sequence 1 by 1, 1 by 2, 1 by 3, 1 by n and so on, corresponding to this, what is the series is? Corresponding series is one plus 1 by 2 plus 1 by 3 plus and so on. Okay, this is denoted by summation un and ranging from 1 to infinity. Now questions will be given. Sequence un converges, summation un diverges. So a sequence un converges, summation un also converges. Both are divergent. Or this is convergent, that is divergent. Like this, you are getting questions in the exam. Examiner want to test whether you know the concept of convergence of sequence as well as concept of convergence of series. So how to answer? Question is, now you have understood corresponding to every sequence. Now we want to discuss convergence and divergence and nature of the series now. For sequences, just now we have seen. If the when do we say sequence is convergent? If the limit of the sequence is finite and unique, convergent. If it is infinity, divergent. If it is minus infinity, divergent. If it is finite and not unique, oscillates finitely. If it is infinity and minus infinity, sometimes infinity, sometimes minus infinity, oscillates infinitely. These are the things we have discussed for sequence. Now we want to discuss the concept of convergence of series. So for this, we use a concept called, to define the concept of convergence for a series, we use a concept called nth partials. Generally, what is students' impression is sequence converges, series converges. Like that, they are having some impression, some misconception, intuitive feeling. Sequence is convergent, corresponding series is also convergent. No, I will show you. This is convergent, we have seen, but this is divergent. So we cannot say because sequence is convergent, its corresponding series is convergent, we cannot say. Then how do we find out? That is done by nth partial sum. We define this term. What is nth partial sum is corresponding to the series. So this is defined for series. Series is defined for sequence corresponding to summation un, the series. So if summation un, that is u1 plus u2 plus u3 and so on un, it will not end with un and so on, then nth partial sum S1 is defined as u1, first partial sum. S2 u1 plus u2. That is sum of first two terms. S3 means sum of first three terms. So what is Sn means then? Sn means u1 plus u2 plus and so on up to un. Here, what is the difference between series and nth partial sum? Summation series means it is plus and so on. There is no end. But here, nth partial sum means it has an end point. Sum of first n terms of the series, this is what is called nth partial sum of the series. So corresponding to every series, there is defined what is called nth partial sum. Nth partial sum means sum of the first n terms of the series. For example, find what is the nth partial sum? Question. The nth partial sum of the series So what is the series here? Summation un 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus and so on. And summation n and so on. And ranging from 1 to infinity of here. This is the series. N equal to 1 first term, n equal to 2 second term, n equal to up to infinity and so on. This is the series. We want to find out what is the nth partial sum. So nth partial sum is, any one of you got the idea?
1 plus 2 plus 3 plus.
So what is that equal to? 10. Up to n. What is this value? It's nothing
n
but
into n plus 1 by
correct. Excellent, Usha. N into n plus 1. Yes, summation n. Therefore, n into n plus 1. Sum to arithmetic progression. You have done sum of first n natural numbers is n into n plus 1. This is Sn, the nth partial sum. Okay. So, given any series, you will be able to write sometimes a formula like this, the nth partial sum. Otherwise, we leave it here. If there is a formula, we write. If there is no formula, we leave it there. For example, what is the nth partial sum of 1, 1 by 2, 1 by 3? We have written here 1 plus 1 by 2 plus and so on up to 1 by n. That will be the nth partial sum for that. We leave it there. If there is a formula, we calculate it. Otherwise, we leave it. So that is the nth partial sum. Now, how the convergence is defined? Now, this nth partial sum can create one sequence. This nth partial sum, but this is the nth term for some sequence. Now, this can generate one sequence. This nth partial sum can give rise to one sequence. Whose nth term is this? So, this is the nth term for some sequence, for this sequence. If I put n equal to 1, I will get 1 into 1 plus 1, 2 by 2. First term. Second term, 2 into 3 by 2. Then third term, 3 into 4 by 2. And so this is the sequence which is generated by this. That means 1, 3, 4. This is 2 times. So 6 and so on. This is a sequence. For this sequence, this is the nth term. So the nth partial sum, from where did we start? First, we are given a series. Corresponding to series, we can create nth partial sum. This nth partial sum can give rise to one sequence. 1, 3, 6, and so on. If this sequence converges, if the sequence created by nth partial sum, this is not un, Sn, the sequence formulated by the nth partial sum, if this is convergent, then we say the series is convergent. So the series is convergent if and only if the corresponding sequence is formed by nth partial sum is convergent. If this is divergent, we say the series summation un means and so on up to infinity, is divergent. If this is oscillatory, then we say the corresponding series is oscillatory. Okay? So this is how it is defined. So let us write down what we have seen now. Where did we start our journey? You are given a series. For the series, you could get the nth partial sum. This nth partial sum gives rise to one sequence. So if this sequence created by nth partial sum converges, we say series converges. If this is divergent, series is divergent. If this oscillates finitely, the series oscillates finitely. If this oscillates infinitely, the series is said to oscillate infinitely. That is, the nature of the series depends on the sequence formed by the nth partial sum. So, let us take this for example. Let us write down convergence, comma divergence, comma nature of series. In other words, summation u, that is u1 plus u2. u1 plus u2 plus un and so on. How it is defined, let us. So, if Sn is the nth partial sum, if and Sn is this, then the series converges if the sequence formed by Sn. Most of the students will be thinking this is sequence un. It is not sequence un. The sequence formed by the nth partial sum. This is where the confusion is for you. Most of the students will think if the sequence un converges, series converges. No, it is not sequence un. It is sequence Sn. Sn is u1 plus u2 plus and so on. If sequence Sn converges. Number 2, the sequence un diverges if sequence Sn diverges. How to test for sequence? When do we say this sequence converges? Take the limit of Sn. If limit Sn is finite and unique, we say series converges. Take the limit Sn. If it is infinity, diverges, so series diverges. If the limit of this is minus infinity, so sequence diverges, so the corresponding series diverges. If it is finite, limit of Sn is finite and not unique, oscillates finitely, so this also oscillates finitely. If limit of Sn is infinity sometimes, minus infinity sometimes, the sequence oscillates infinitely. So the corresponding series also oscillates infinitely. So this is how they are connected. Summation un oscillates if oscillatory, if sequence Sn is oscillatory sequence, oscillates. If this oscillates, this is oscillatory. This also is oscillatory series, we call it. This is oscillatory sequence, we call it. That means, what is the meaning? Summation un, nature of summation un is same as sequence Sn. So note, we know sequence Sn converges if limit of the sequence. How to find limit of the sequence? Limit of the nth term, finite and unique. Should be crystal clear. When is sequence said to diverge? Diverges if limit of the sequence is limit of the nth term, infinity or minus. Summation, yes, sequence Sn oscillates if limit of the sequence finite but not unique. Next, sequence Sn oscillates infinitely if limit of the sequence is equal to infinity sometimes, that is for some values of n, and is equal to minus infinity for some n. Okay, so the nature is accordingly. Let us see. Is the series question application is the sequence convergent? Is the series convergent? Interesting. This is sequence. This is series. Let us analyze. First one. This is sequence UN. 1, 1, 1, 1. What is the nth term? 1. What is the limit? This is called constant sequence. Constant sequences are always convergent. Converges to that constant, which is finite and unique. Therefore, sequence UN converges. We are getting such questions in the exam. Sequence is convergent. What can you say about the series? How to test for the series?
Constant
So
series conversion.
it is not, it is constant series. So can you say it is convergent? We cannot apply that technique. What you have to do, find the nth partials. 1 plus 1 plus 1 plus 1. How many times? N times.
And
Because this is, yeah, this is u1, u2, u3, u4, un. Un is also 1. So what is Sn? u1 plus u2 plus u3 plus u4 plus and un. All are 1 only. So Sn is 1. Now we have to find whether the limit of the sequence, this sequence is finite or not. So if this sequence converges, we say series converges according to concept. This is nth partial sum. So if the sequence formed by the nth partial sum, this is the sequence. If the sequence converges, we say the series converges. So this is the sequence formed by nth partial sum. How to test whether the sequence is convergent or not? Take limit of the sequence, which is limit n, which is equal to infinity. So this implies limit sequence Sn is divergent. Divergent sequence. If the sequence diverges, the corresponding series 1 plus 1 plus diverges. Very interesting point. Sequence is convergent. Very interesting is sequence un is convergent. Converges. But the series diverges. Very interesting point. We are getting such questions in the exam. So given this question, you can be tested in series as well as in sequence. Generally, students, what do they think? Sequence un converges, therefore series converges, which is not so. Which sequence? The sequence formed by nth partial sum converges, then summation un converges, not un. This is the best example where the sequence converges, but the corresponding series diverges. Sometimes both may be convergent, sometimes both may be divergent. There is no universal rule that if the sequence converges, the corresponding series also should converge, something like that. So this is how we do it at 9:47. I'll close here, otherwise you'll curse me and your family members also. I'll stop here. Tomorrow we'll discuss more. Okay? So when you are very happy with all these, why next again? Why that Kashi Santru test? Why that limit comparison test, DL ratio test? Why so many tests are evolved when this is so easy to do it? That we will see tomorrow.
Thank you, madam.
Thank you.
Nice lecture.
Thank you. Sorry.
No, madam. No,
నేను
madam.
టైం చూడలేదు. Sorry.
వాళ్ళంతా
Sorry for
లీనమైపోయారు అనుకుంటాను. చాలా మంది ఇన్వాల్వ్ అయిపోయారు. Am I right? Am I right, students?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. Thank you, ma'am.
మంచి నోట్స్
Okay.
ప్రిపేర్ చేసుకోండి. దాంతో పాటు ఏ క్వశ్చన్ ఇచ్చినా కూడా క్రాక్ చేసేటట్టు ఈజీ అవుతుంది.
I'll share the notes.
యా నోట్స్ మంచిగా రాసుకోండి అమ్మా. రేపు ఇంకొకటి మన లాస్ట్ మూమెంట్ లో మనం ఒక టీచర్ ని కూడా ఇన్వాల్వ్ చేస్తాము. ఒక మోటివేటర్ కూడా వస్తానన్నాడు. 10 minutes మీకు లాస్ట్ లో మాట్లాడుతున్నాడు ఆయన. ఇప్పుడు టైం ఆల్మోస్ట్ ఇప్పుడు ఆల్మోస్ట్ 9:50 అవుతుంది. మీరు తిట్టుకుంటారని చెప్పేసి ఆపేసాను. ఓకే ఓకే మేడం, థ్యాంక్ యూ వెరీ మచ్.
రైట్
గుడ్ నైట్. గుడ్ నైట్ అలా. యా నోట్స్ షేర్ చేయండి మేడం ఒకసారి.
అండ్ ఇప్పుడే చేసేస్తాను.